Gilla Gorilla.
I couldn't find that on Amazon Music.
You're worthless. You are worthless.
That's
What do I pay $9 a month for? Uh,
straight too, Mike.
we
I do have
got
a
a
song.
gorilla for sale, Miguel Gorilla for sale. Won't you buy him? Take him home and try him. Gorilla for sale. That's what I wanted Alexa to play.
Striking out. I do have a song for tonight at the
Alexa,
end if
shut up.
we think about it.
Now she's playing something else.
Well, hey, welcome everybody. It is back in the day. It's Thursday, August 17th. Today we're going to be talking about children's shows, cartoons, a little bit of everything there. And Mike, speaking of which, off topic because we always start off being off topic here. I got a phone call, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. I was just getting ready to set up and Donna called me and just gave me a call just to kind of pop in and say hi and, just to see how things were going. And said she's been trying to get on, but she's been getting to bed a little bit earlier because of still having some issues from her fall back in June. So I hope she slowly starts to get over that.
Me too. We miss her.
But yeah, very much so. It was good talking to her. She was sharing with me some Richard Dreyfuss stories. So
good.
Some
good ones.
Yeah. Oh, they were absolutely. Yeah. She was talking to me about some of the pieces of the cabin that she gave Richard, and apparently he was so excited he was holding them up and yelling, "Do you know what this is?" Oh, you got one too. Oh my gosh, Mike! I should never doubt you. I shouldn't doubt you.
And proof that we actually stayed there. That's the cabin.
Oh, nice.
It's now a monstrosity of a house.
Oh, I'm sure.
It lost. I mean, it was a nice little secluded area, and they just tore it down and built I don't know,
8,000 square feet.
That big, yeah.
Gets lived in 2 weeks a year, I'm sure. That's a shame. That's awesome. You got a piece of that. But yeah, she was sharing that she had given him some pieces, and he was incredibly excited over it. So yeah, cool little story. I told her, I said I'll give her a call this week. I haven't talked to her in a while, and I mean I spent some time with her last summer. We were on the island, so it was good talking to her. So all right, we've got a couple people popping in already.
I see Victor.
Yeah, hello, Mike and Nate. Vic, good to hear from you, buddy. Vic's been posting a couple things lately.
Queen Donna is ill. Yeah, she took a fall. I think in June. Just recuperating.
Must have been a pretty hard one. She said she drew some ribs up. She's having problems with the sciatic, so that's not fun. Yeah, so we wish her well.
Like the Bumble, we don't. As older we get, the less we bounce. So
yeah, no kidding. Or the longer it takes to get over bouncing, that's for sure. So yeah, and Robert is here. Robert,
welcome.
You sure you should be in class tonight, Robert?
Let's see. It's should be 11, almost midnight there. Don't you have?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Classes in the morning.
Yep. Yeah, I know everyone here is back in session. So the hut was iconic. Yeah, I gotta say I missed that whole boat by a couple of years. My first trip to the island, actually, I happened to walk into the shirt store on Circuit Avenue and bought a bunch of Jaws shirts and stuff like that. And the lady behind the counter, I didn't realize it was Rubella's brother, I guess, who owns the shop. And she said, "You a big Jaws fan?" I said, "Oh my gosh!" I was going bonkers because he had the original. I don't know. There was something hanging up in the back from the movie, and she handed me the Jaws Fest. I think from 12. She handed me the book or brochure. Gave me a copy of it. Just thought that was so incredibly nice, and a pack of Jaws 3D cards that were still in the wrapper. Just handed them to me because she knew I was
Nice.
a Jaws fan. So
Nice. Yeah,
what a,
Todd's real nice. His shop.
yeah.
And you saved 20. Well, that was part of the contention of the 2012 Jaws Fest. The first day, you got that program for free. Rest of the time, you had to pay $20 for it. So,
Oh,
yeah. So she probably had some free ones she was giving away. Yeah.
I've heard some rough stories about the amount of money that people spent for like VIP passes and stuff, and it kind of
Well, it
didn't equate
was.
too much.
I think it was five. I don't know. 500 might be too much. It might have been $300 for a VIP, a gold bracelet. And when they advertised it, you also got a free copy of Memories of Martha's Vineyard, Matt Taylor's book. But in the ad, what they posted it online, they didn't post the paperback version. They posted the book, the coffee table, with the, it's way over there. I don't want to grab it. In the slipcase with the piece of the orca in it and everything else.
The orca too.
So people are showing up and they're like, "What's this? This is the book." No, this is what you had in your ad. Well, no, that's a. I mean, it was probably sold out by then. It's a $200 book. But they just and people when they had the screening of Jaws in the park, a bunch of people showed up and sat in the VIP area. Didn't have bracelets. People complained because they had spent, hundreds of dollars, and at the end, somebody from the fest just went through and threw gold wristbands out into the audience. Like, here you go.
Oh,
now they can't complain that you're sitting there. Yeah. Yeah, it was
not a way to handle things.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. I promise I'm not in college until the 6th of September. Okay.
All right. I'm taking your word for it. I mean, as much as I'd love to have you on, buddy, I don't want you to be missing class or showing up sleeping in class.
Yeah, I don't want you going, what? Jaws, what? Yeah.
It's not going to get you past that midterm or final. So, oh Lord, what a screw up. Yeah, it must have been.
It was indeed.
Well, let's without further ado, let's get some things rolling in here. So tonight, we're really going to be talking about Saturday morning cartoons and TV shows, and this is I was trying to come up with a topic for the week, and I want to maybe hit something a little bit different. I thought, why not give this a shot? Because to most of us, this has a lot of relevancy. As a matter of fact, one of the things when Donna called, she said to me, "Nate, we didn't have cartoons. We didn't have Saturday morning cartoons." I said, "We didn't have Saturday morning cartoons." She said, "Well, it was in the 50s." And I was like, "Oh man, that's right." Because most of that, I think, really got its start like in the 60s. I think is when the cartoons for Saturday morning really
not Commander Cody, but they like Howdy Doody. They had the puppets, whatever the space show was with the puppets. Yeah, but I think cartoons really kicked off, and I think they really kicked off because the Flintstones used to be prime time. I can remember watching, and they used to be on prime time, and I can remember, Fred and Barney, shilling for Winston cigarettes. Bonnie, Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. And, I was like 3 or 4, so it didn't really influence me. And then I guess they realized there was nothing on when they kind of released more time to local stations, because a lot of times it was all network. There was maybe 15 minutes, half hour of local news, but all the other programs were network. And then as they kind of branched out, I know in Cleveland we had a morning show, Captain Penny. We had Barnaby that showed cartoons, but most of that national stuff was like Captain Kangaroo and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess they realized we got nothing to do on Saturday morning, but it was probably cheap for them because a lot of the stuff they ran early on was the stuff that used to run in movie theaters. back when you went to a movie and you saw a newsreel and a cartoon and other stuff. So that was the bulk of the early Saturday morning stuff. And then they, with Batman and the Super Friends, and in the late '60s you had like early '70s like the Jackson 5 and Archie's and the Osmonds and the Beatles cartoons in the '60s. So yeah, it was my mom every Friday night for my mom and dad. I go to bed early. They'd pop popcorn and watch Mission Impossible, whatever else was on Fridays. But she would always put a bowl of popcorn in the oven for me. And then Saturday morning I'd get up and, they'd sleep in and I'd just eat popcorn and watch my cartoons.
Yes. Yeah. Always a mainstay in my house. There was stuff on by the time I was, up and coming. There were shows on during the week as well, particularly when you got home from school. But Saturday morning was always like the biggest draw. Like you got up on a Saturday morning and you flew out of bed downstairs, and whether you watched ABC, NBC, CBS, whatever. And as a very young child, like obviously the majority of us, we didn't have cable. And me being Reading, a little bit outside of Philadelphia, we would pick up on like one or two local Philly stations. I want to say ABC was the channel out of Philadelphia, so I would often watch that. And you were glued to it, and I want to say probably till about lunch, like around 11 o'clock lunch, it would kind of start to fizzle out or change over to other shows.
Like
but that was just
Wide World of Sports usually used to come on ABC.
Yes, you're right. It did. Yes.
By then, your parents shoo you out of the house anyway. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, as a kid, then you didn't want to be in the house anymore.
Right.
You're out of your PJs, you had breakfast, so you were out riding your bike or tromping in the woods or doing whatever you and your buddies enjoy doing. So, but yeah, so we got a couple in here. So Gilligan's Island cartoon, 1974. Everyone had a stab at cartoons from the late, I would say early 70s up through probably the early 90s. If there was anything of any relevancy, a show of any type, it made its way into a cartoon. In fact, many of them, when I was going back and doing some research, didn't realize half of them that were cartoons. However, some of them were a real flash in the pan. So some maybe only made it for a handful of episodes or for one season. Some, stuck around. Obviously, the ones that stick around are the ones that really, really stick with me. So, and this is one. So Shazam, I definitely remember that was a live action show. I don't remember the cartoon of Shazam.
Right, but it was and it was paired with every other week with Isis,
which was the girl.
Yes, but of course,
yes.
They're not going to show Isis on TV anymore because you don't want kids in America going, "Oh, mighty Isis." Have Homeland Security knocking on your door. But yeah, Billy Batson and Mentor and and that's why Shazam. I always thought he was Captain Marvel. He's Captain Marvel. And then when that Marvel movie came out with the girl, I was like, that's weird because I thought the guy who yelled Shazam was Captain Marvel. And then he came out with a Shazam movie and they never called him Captain Marvel. But I think a comic book friend of mine was trying to tell me there was something. Had something to do with the rights or something, but he's always Captain Marvel to me.
Yes, because in the comic books, he was Captain Marvel. He just said Shazam. And you know what, though? I got that connotation as a kid. And I think what happened was you were so caught up in him saying Shazam, like that kind of like that sold the show. So you were like, oh, he's Shazam. No, he's not Shazam. He's Captain Marvel. So,
yeah.
But yeah. Do you guys remember Rocket Robin Hood in the 1960s? That was before my time. You, Mike?
What are you saying? That I'm old?
Yeah.
I don't remember watching it. I've heard the show. I've heard of it, but I don't remember watching it. I think as far back, I'd say Flintstones as far back as I go, early 60s, that I can remember. But that was like Rocky and Bullwinkle and, Tom Terrific and Tennessee Tuxedo and
Klondike Kid.
Yeah.
El Kabong, that was my favorite.
Quick Draw McGraw and El Kabong.
Quick Draw McGraw and listen, when El Kabong came on, my younger brother, it was my house was not a safe place to be. You know what I mean?
And Baba Louie, yes. El Kabong and Baba Louie.
Yes, and Deputy Dog, that was another one, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
And that came on. So what coincided with that, and I haven't seen these in forever, was the Fractured Fairy Tales and Underdog, and yeah. Who was the walrus? It was just like
Oh,
Mission
Chumley,
Impossible.
Tennessee Tuxedo and Chumley.
Tennessee Tuxedo and
G
Chumley. That's great.
Tennessee, G Tennessee. And Don Adams was the voice of Tennessee Tuxedo.
Yes, yes, yeah. They were. I have some really fond memories of those. And the Fractured Fairy Tales, I think, was just like a modern telling of like the old like Aesop fable
Mhm.
shows and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was all part of like the J. Ward block that had like Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Mm-hmm.
They later did George of the Jungle and just one in my
What
head.
was the Robinsons with the dog and the kid?
Yeah.
Dog was like incredibly intelligent.
Yes. And just Dudley Do Right. I was thinking Dudley Do Right. That was part of that same kind of studio. Yeah.
And who was the pink tiger? He would always say, "Exit stage left."
Snagglepuss?
Might have been. Yeah, I don't remember.
Jinx?
Oh,
Well, Jinx the cat was with the mice.
yes. No, this was.
I think it was Snagglepuss. So it would say exit stage left.
Stage left.
Yeah. Star Trek cartoon, yes.
Yeah.
Fonzie had a cartoon. Fonzie and the Happy Days Bunch.
Happy Days, the Monkeys. I mean, you name it. Everybody had a cartoon. Yes. The ones that I remember the most were the ones that really had holding power. Let me pop up another slide here. So yeah, if I had to think about some of the favorites, I often am drawn to the ones that really stuck out and were there for many seasons. So for me, Super Friends, like to this day. I mean, when my son turned 3 years old, they re-released the original first 3 Super Friends seasons on disc, and I went out and bought them because my son was a huge Batman fan. And Christmas morning, he was 3 years old. We sat and watched like majority of the first season of the Super Friends, and it was like I was 3 or 5 years old again. I mean, it was absolutely amazing, incredible, loved it. So that always, but that was you were in the era of Hanna-Barbera, and they had so many shows. I mean, Super Friends, Scooby Doo, Captain Caveman, Josie and the Pussycats, Jabberjaw. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on.
You got Speed Racer. Now, Speed Racer was like an afternoon cartoon when he came home from school.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that. You got Johnny Quest. You got Scooby Doo. Now, not many people know this, but actually, Rick Springfield was popular in the late '60s for one album, and he actually had a cartoon show called Mission Magic, and he did he had the Mystery Machine, and then all of a sudden, Scooby Doo had it.
Rick Springfield?
Springfield, yeah.
That's a Mike fact right there. I had no idea. I thought Rick Springfield cut his teeth doing soap opera.
Yeah. General Hospital. Yeah, he was big in the early 70s.
Jeez.
Bug. Flintstones. Was that Muttley?
Yes, that's Muttley.
My sister-in-law laughs like him.
That was the one you always tried to imitate.
Carol goes, she's Muttley. Don't argue with me.
And Snidely Whiplash is who he hung out with, right?
No, Snidely Whiplash was on Dudley Do Right. He always kidnapped Nell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
You always had Mr. Withers, the old man at the amusement park.
Yes.
I would have done it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. Yes.
And that's been through how many renditions? I mean, there was 2 different versions of that when my son was growing up, because I would often go back and
there was like
play the old one.
Scrappy Doo. Was there a Scrappy Doo? I think I stopped watching cartoons when Scrappy Doo showed up.
Scrappy Doo jumped the shark. So that was kind of the jump the shark moment. So I can remember, I want to say 2nd grade, I would walk home from school because I was only a couple blocks away. and I would get out of school at whatever 2:50 or whatever, and literally grab my bag and sprint home because they were showing the Scooby Doo ones when they started having guest stars on. So
Ah.
like it would be like Scooby Doo with Phyllis Diller or the Harlem Globetrotters, and it was usually, no, I shouldn't say usually. I think at times it was like a 2 episode run for whatever the guest was, like Batman and Robin was on, and um, all these different people that were on. And just like ran home to watch that as opposed to catching them on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big fan of those guys. Yes, Major Mike fact. Going back to that once again there. Yeah, it was
Speak
Rick
to the
Springfield.
sky. Thank you. Speak to
Yes.
the sky. And yep. I have that album. Yeah.
All new to me. Yeah. Not know that. That's a good one. Yeah. And I'm trying to think. I went through waves as a kid, so some of the early Japanese anime, as I remember coming in, that kind of intrigued me. I was a fan of some of that stuff as well. And then obviously some of the live TV shows that were pretty popular. You know what? Let me pull a couple up. I know
We had Banana Splits.
Mm-hmm.
What's we got here?
Here, let me move us down a little bit.
There's the Banana Splits. Yeah.
Banana Splits. I remember Land of the Lost. I was a huge fan of. That was a big one. Mm-hmm. Great Space Coaster. That was a big one.
Yeah. Puffin Stuff. Is Puffin Stuff on there?
HR Puffin Stuff.
Puffin
Yes, down at the bottom. Down at the bottom there. Yes.
Oh, there he is.
And then there was a couple. There was a couple oddball ones that I remember. I didn't remember much about them, but I remember them being on around the same time. I think of the same programming with like Shazam and ISIS, and that's like Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. That was on that same show. The Lost Saucer, which was, I think, was Jim Neighbors. It was kind of a late show of his. That's up there on the right. That's up above you, Mike. That was his show. And then at the very top of that was another show that I think was associated with that program as well. And if you look at the top of that, you're going to see Gilligan. I can't remember his name.
It's Bob Denver and Chuck McCann.
Yes. I can't remember the name of the show.
I know.
That was coming off of the whole Star Wars thing, I believe.
Yeah. No, but I should get points for knowing Chuck McCann, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was drawing a major blank on the name of that. I just happened to come across a picture and I remembered it. Because I vaguely remember probably catching a couple episodes because I often wanted to get on and like watch like Shazam. But Electro Woman and Dyna Girl, I remember that one pretty well.
Bugaloos.
Yeah.
See the Bugaloos? The
Bugaloos. They were like early like rock band. Remember they always like performed a song somewhere in the show.
They're the same like family of like Puffin Stuff and Sigmund of the Sea Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the same vein. Yeah, a lot of good stuff there. I mean, some of these, like when I pulled them up and started doing some digging here, hadn't seen or thought about some of these in probably 30 years. So it was kind of neat to go back and revisit. I had to put Lone Ranger in there because
is that Tano? Is that Tano down there? Yeah.
Yes. Lone Ranger was back on syndication when I was a kid, and I remember going absolutely bonkers over Lone Ranger. In fact, I had like Lone Ranger, probably like the old where were the Miko action figures, horse, had Tonto, and my grandfather had a couple homing pigeons, and when I was young, he gave me one, and I remember this, but I don't remember what we named him. So we named the homing pigeon after Tonto's. He had an eagle that didn't show up all that much, and I can't remember what the eagle's name was, but that was the name of my pigeon. And the only reason I know that is because I was having this conversation with my mom earlier this week, who's in her 70s, and she said, "Do you remember the pigeon?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I named it after Tonto's eagle." I said, "What was the name?" And neither of us could remember the name. So I'd have to look that one up.
Huh. I didn't know Tano had an eagle. I know his horse's
Yeah.
name was Scout. That's all I knew about
Scout.
Tano.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we all practice talking like him. So we got a couple more here. What do we got?
Do you know who the Lone Ranger's great nephew is?
I do not.
The Green Hornet.
No, you're kidding me. Really?
Yeah, Britt Reed is the great nephew of John Reed.
Oh, that's incredible.
Huh.
Damn, I had no idea. And he did that and wore that proudly. I mean, up through later life. I mean, he always embraced that.
Yeah.
Being the Lone Ranger. Yeah.
In fact, they tried to sue him.
Yes. For the
They
right
ended
to
up
do it, right?
having to do. He used to have to get those big, like Robert De Niro at the end of Casino sunglasses because he couldn't show up in a mask anymore. Yeah, Clayton Moore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Robert, Danger Mouse, and Wallace and Gromit. Oh, I didn't know Wallace and Gromit was like a series over there. I'm just familiar with the films. Yeah, Wallace and Gromit is brilliant.
Yeah, Danger Mouse. I remember Danger. I mean, I was considerably older, but I do remember seeing that popular. By the mid '80s, I was probably done with cartoons and stuff like that.
Well, it was right around then though. They went to. It was like they were all toy commercials. Here's My Little Pony. Here's Transformers. Here's Gem. It was like,
And that all was spawned and coincided with all of the cartoons. And I think that was kind of the start of putting nails in the coffin for Saturdays and for cartoons in general. I think that's when they started to go, this is getting a little, overbearing. So, yeah,
these were on 3 major networks. Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What was it? CBS, ABC, and NBC, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, in fact, I think I'd have to look it up. Either NBC or CBS, I think, was like one of the final holdouts. One of the ones that kind of held on there until the bitter end, if I'm not mistaken. So, as Robert saying, they had short films and some shows, but I can safely say there's a strong British intuition that Wallace and Gromit characters considered better cultural ambassadors to Britain than people who. Wow. That's pretty interesting. Probably you better stand a character too, right?
Yeah.
But I would definitely want to throw in some live action shows because there was a ton of those, just as there was cartoons. In fact, when I was talking to Donna earlier, she had mentioned a couple. She said, we didn't have the cartoons, we had some live action shows, and trying to think of who she mentioned. Who was Lamb Chop? What show is Lamb Chop?
Oh, Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop.
Yes, Jerry Lewis and Lamb Chop. And I couldn't remember what was the. I remember catching old black and white reruns of it. It was the puppet that had all the freckles. This is killing me. I don't know the name.
Not Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
No. Oh gosh. All right. At any rate, and then she also mentioned Mickey Mouse Playhouse.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse Club, and I think it was on Sunday mornings. It used to be a great show called Make a Wish, and it was hosted by Tom Chapin, who's Harry Chapin's brother, and it was informational. But this is you want to be a car. Well, this is this kind of car. This is this. For age 11 and 12, it was pretty interesting.
Yep.
But usually on Sunday you got like Davy and Goliath. You always got the preachy shows.
Yes. Yeah, Sunday, like you would show up because you knew there was going to be some things on, but it was kind of hokey compared to Saturday. It was never as good. As much as you hoped it would be, you knew it was going to be a bit of a foul ball. So,
hi, Kelly.
That's Kelly's on.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. Hello, Kelly. Good to see you on here. We got another one. I like Commander Tom. I'm not familiar with Commander Tom. I don't know if that was.
I remember Tom Terrific. He used to be on Captain Kangaroo. That was like the cartoon they showed.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the name of the show. It was is it Tutor the Turtle? the turtle that would go all different places, and then you get in trouble, and he'd be like, "Help me, Mr. Wizard! I don't want to be a medieval knight anymore." Yeah.
Sound like a serious complainer, Mike. So, well, so I had to bring this up because as soon as I think about Saturday morning cartoons, I had to think about cereal. Did you grab a bowl of cereal and sit down in front of the TV, Mike?
Right there, Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch was my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back in my day, there was a cereal. It was like alphabets, but it was called OKs. It was just O's and K's, and I remember Yogi Bear was on the box.
Really?
It was basically alphabets with just different letters, but Wheaties,
Yeah,
Frosted
Wheaties are always
Flakes,
mm-hmm.
um,
Cheerios, Honey Nut
Cheerios.
Cheerios. Yeah.
Yeah, but we always had now now it's like Golden Pops and Golden Crisp, but it used to be Super Sugar Crisp and
Yes.
Sugar Pops. And my second favorite cereal, I have my not as sharp. You didn't cut your mouth on the, or you didn't cut it with your mouth like Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch, yeah.
Remember Quisp?
Oh, yes.
Quisp and Quake. Yeah.
Nice.
And they still make this. Every now and then I'll find a batch at the store. When I do, I send a couple boxes out to my friends. They still make Quisp.
Very nice. I've noticed that a lot of the heavy hitters are still out there, but the knockoff cereals have really kind of stepped their game up, and some of them are hard to differentiate from the originals now.
Yeah, the big, the kind you get in the big bags.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's great marketing. Because it's the same. The other day, I was in like a Pop-Tart mood, and I grabbed the box, and it was like tarts or pop with 3 P's, but the packaging and the coloring and the wording all looks the same. Yes. But you see the big bags of like the Oreos or something. It's supposed to be Cheerios, but it's in a yellow box, so people buy it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
C3PO.
Life cereal, Mikey. Oh yes, Cinnamon Life was my favorite. I like that better than regular Life. And I went through periods with cereal. Like when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to have a whole lot of the quote sugary cereal. My mom she wanted us to do more healthy stuff. But every once in a while, we get a box of something. And being young, I remember I was a huge fan of Count Chocula.
Yeah.
What was the Frankenberry? Was the strawberry one? And what was the ghost one? Blueberry. And I could remember on the back of the boxes at times they would have cut out masks of the characters, and so when you were done eating, you cut the mask out and you could run around the house and scare the hell out of your little brother with it. So.
And usually you got a prize. There's a prize in the cereal box.
Oh yes, there was. That's right. Wow, taking me back to Cracker Jack days.
Knees down there. Yeah, that Life commercial, Mikey haunted me in school.
I can only imagine.
Between that, Michael, row your boat ashore, and then a song that Clint Holmes did called "Playgrounds in My Mind," with the chorus, "My name is Michael, I got a nickel." That haunted me through 6th and 7th grade. So, Trix, tasty.
Yes, Trix. Frosted Flakes. We got that as well. They were always. I can't tell you the last time I had like a bowl of cereal, but I can still sit down and hammer on some Frosted Flakes, Cocoa Pebbles. I wasn't a big Fruity Pebbles fan, but I'm a chocolate nut and Cocoa Pebbles. Oh man, you just sit there and fill up the bowl, and then when you were done, you had chocolate milk. It was like sugary chocolate milk. Oh my gosh, that was incredible. And I was big on milk. I mean, from our generation, I think we were in general, and big cereal eaters. And my mom, to this day, every once in a while she reminds me with this conversation. We were growing up. My mom had an ulcer, And so if you had an ulcer to treat it, you would drink whole milk. And so my mom, you would have milk with dinner, you'd have milk, like before you went to bed or whatever. And cereal, we were huge on cereal. My brother and I, my brother, not as tall as me, bigger guy than I am. And by the time we were both teenagers, my mom, she still complains about this. She would buy 18 to 20 boxes of cereal every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because we would eat it in the morning, and then usually at night before bed, we would have it. And then she would buy these real cheap plastic bowls that were really tall. And what you did was you poured the cereal in a bowl to the absolute top, and you held your hand on the cereal as you gently poured the milk in so it wouldn't push the cereal out all over the kitchen table. And then we ate it like crazy. And then at night,
I have a bowl of cereal every day, but unfortunately it's Cheerios. I mean, I like Cheerios, but it's, heart healthy. More Captain Crunch for me. And I used to like the variety packs, the little boxes.
Oh, the little boxes?
You get like 6 or 18. You can say, I'll take this, I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah, you get like Captain Crunch and Fruit Loops and all that stuff in it. Yes. And there's some different ones over the years, but those are some of my more favorites. And then there was a couple. So Cheerios I liked, Chex I liked, and I can't remember what were the ones. It was just like little round, like vanilla looking balls that didn't have much flavor to it. It wasn't weenies. It was
Kicks.
That's what it was. It was Kicks.
They were like Tricks, but they were Kicks. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We liked those, but often because they were kind of more bland compared to the other ones, you would dump so much sugar in it that when you were done eating it, you would just start scooping the milk-ridden sugar out of the bottom of the bowl. And that was probably my favorite part. So, what do we got? Honeycomb,
Honeycombs are good. Alphabet.
Yeah.
Puff rice. Puff rice we used to have. Rice Krispies.
Shredded wheat. That was good. If you got the frosted shredded wheat, they were
minis.
Good.
The mini shredded wheat.
Yes. I didn't like when they got soggy. They had to be kind of like crunchy. Yeah. That's the way I like them. Yeah.
That's how it is at work, because I go to work so early. I always have my cereal at work, and I have it ready. And usually nobody bothers me until I put the milk on. Then my phone rings or somebody walks in the office, and I'm like, I like good crunchy cereal.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, don't like it when it gets soggy. It was great eating cereal at night. Yeah, that was like cereal and ice cream. That's what I remember as a teenager, as like a snack. Like, a little bit before bed, you'd be catching like the last show before you had to head off to bed. It was one or the other. And I think it was kind of sold off that cereal was better for you than ice cream, but Lord knows, looking at what we ate, it probably wasn't a whole lot better for you.
Sure, a bowl of ice cream is better than a big old bowl of Captain Crunch, but I might actually go buy some Captain Crunch this weekend.
And there was Captain Crunch. There was Captain Crunch Berries. When it had the red berries.
They have Crunch Berries. Now they have like a peanut butter crunch.
Peanut butter crunch. I do remember that one.
Now you can buy all Crunch Berries. That's all it is. There's so much. I think I counted the other day at the grocery store, there are 17 different varieties of Cheerios.
Jeez.
Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios, Vanilla Cheerios, Blueberry Cheerios, Yogurt Cheerios. I was like,
I only remember 2. Regular and Honey Nut. That was it.
Yeah, my grandkids like the Honey Nut.
Yeah. Yeah, it was and there were some other like fly-by-night. The cereals kind of went with the toys and everything else. Like I remember like C-3PO cereal, which was like glorified whatever else, like honeycombs or whatever, and they never stuck with me very long. But there was always a couple of constants that I really hung on to growing up. So
because I think Mr. T was basically Captain Crunch in the shape of T's.
Yes. Yeah. There was an ice cream cone cereal that was the best. I don't remember that. Yeah. I remember Cookie Crisp. It was a little mini chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, but the ice cream cone cereal, I'm drawing a blank on that one.
They were like were they little cones? Or am I just thinking about the little like candy cones you could buy at the store? It were kind of like ice cream. Maybe
Yeah, it
that's
might
what I'm
have
thinking
been.
about.
Might have been. Yeah. Yeah, and then Trix. Trix was all the different fruit with the rabbit on the box. Because that's how you remember all the characters. And
But
then
I heard something
Lucky
once on
Charms.
the radio. They were talking about it. Apparently, Trix, each one, it's all the same flavor. It's not like the orange is orange and the red is cherry. It's
They're
all
all
the
the same.
same. It's all each one. They all have the same flavor, but because you're eating them all together, you're thinking, "Oh, it's got a little. They got a little bit of cherry." Yeah,
Oh my gosh! Like 2
you
years of my life is a
didn't need to
lie,
know that
Mike.
as a kid, though. But you spend all day just
Yeah.
picking out the red ones.
What did Wheaties taste
Wheaties
like?
tasted good.
Wheaties were good, but it was
little bit of sugar.
a little bit of sugar on it, but it was like a natural, like an oat bran flavor. I
Yeah,
want to say, but it had good flavor. It wasn't like without flavor. It wasn't the sugary stuff. That was always like the more like that was Box of Wheaties always had the sports figures on it because that was
yeah.
touted as being like a cereal that was good for you compared to all the other
Breakfast of
stuff.
Champions. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. What we got here? Fruit Loops sucked. How could Sean like it in Jaws too? Yeah, Fruit Loops were out. Fruit Loops. What was the other one that was it? Apple J's. Kind of
Jacks.
similar.
Apple Jacks, but that's kind of like cinnamon. Apple Jacks
Yeah.
say apple cinnamon, and Fruit Loops. I think all the Fruit Loops are the same flavor too.
Mm-hmm.
But kids, we like bright colors.
Yeah. Wheaties with raisins allows you to bypass the sugar. Yeah, but if I remember, I think the raisins were coated in sugar.
Yeah, the ones in Raisin Bran are.
Raisin Bran was yes. And once
Sometimes
I
I
hit my
Wheaties, my mom would like slice a banana on the Wheaties. That's good.
oh yes, you're right. Oh wow, Mike, totally forgot about that. Yeah, yeah. My big thing was if I could, I would try and sneak a little bit of brown sugar and put a little bit of brown sugar on, or if you remember, Nestle's Quick. I'm sure you remember this, Mike. Used to come in a powder and it came in a metal can. And you would, you had to pop the top off, and it always make that pop sound. And we sneak a little bit of that. My mom didn't want us using that unless we were making like chocolate milk or whatever, and we would get that to put on our cereal. But what we would do is we would open up the can, and you get a spoonful of it and put it in your mouth. Well, the problem with that is as soon as you put it in your mouth, you would breathe in, and you would start hacking chocolate dust. And when your mom heard you coughing, right from the kitchen, she knew. She'd be like, "Put that damn Nestle's Quick away." She knew right away what it was. Yeah. Oh my gosh! Every time. Yeah. Rice Krispies ruled. Yeah, Rice Krispies were always.
Yep.
That was another. Yep, another one. Yeah, definitely dumped sugar on that one as well. Yeah, fond memories here. Wow.
I know. Trip down memory lane.
Really pulling up some good stuff. Yeah. And as I got older, I have a sweet tooth. I try and stay away from the majority, like soda, all those things. I really try and avoid them as much as I can. But when I got older, I discovered the granola cereals. Some of those are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could just sit and eat those for days. I mean, yeah, but and then you look at the calorie intake and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, a lot of I don't know if it's sugar or what it is. High carb. I try to eat. I mean, I just try to cut my carbs down for my blood sugar. So Special K or Cheerios is best for me. But a little bit of Truvia on it.
I've become a pretty big oatmeal nut over the years. Either that or like just a couple eggs real quick in a pan in the morning. Just generally like my go-to. So, but yeah. All right, so I had to start this, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. So I thought this topic would come up a bit, and that was not just the live shows, but some of the educational shows. And some of those were on Saturdays, some of those were on during the week as well. Mm-hmm. I know a good time for them was usually like early to mid morning during the week, and then sometimes they would like reboot those after school is out. The obvious ones being like Sesame Street. Like I can remember, I'm sure you do, like Sesame Street back when like Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog were still on there, and Snuffleupagus.
Before they got famous, Guy Smiley and not Elmo. Elmo, not a true Muppet. Remember that.
And we got Mr. Rogers on there. The Electric Company. I loved that show. Loved. I can still, I had to pull a clip of it up yesterday, and the lady in the beginning going, "Hey, you guys!" I mean, I just,
And who was Ready Reader on Electric Company?
Hold on a second. It was. Oh, wait. He's like you want to hear him narrate every Clint Eastwood movie from here on in. Oh, it's killing me. Say it.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. Yes, it was. That's right. Yeah. And remember the spelling when they would drop the words in? Or they would do like a pinball machine for it or whatever. Yeah.
Dog. Yes. Captain Kangaroo, Mr. Green Jeans, and Bunny Rabbit, Mr. Moose, Dancing Bear.
I was not a big Captain Kangaroo guy growing up. Very, very popular show. I don't know, something about him. I just never got into him. But he was a guy. He reminded me of Mr. Rogers. Extremely dedicated to what he was doing. Very dedicated to what he was doing. What we got here? Eggs fried or eggs boiled? Which is better? I like eggs.
Hard boiled or poached? There's a difference.
Yes, there is a difference. Yeah. I could eat eggs just about any way, to be honest with you.
We should do a show on eggs next time.
Hey,
all the ways to prepare eggs.
All ways to eat eggs. Yeah.
And then there was a show called Zoom that was on PBS out of Boston. That was an afternoon show.
And I remember some other odd ones like 3-2-1 Contact. That's where the Bloodhound Gang came from. You familiar with that one at all? That was a big one. Now, the show in the middle there at the top was one that I'm pretty sure you had to be from my area. That was broadcast out of Philadelphia, and the show was called Hatchie Malachi. And Hatchie Malachi had her own show, and a lot of education stuff. And I can remember as a little kid, like you could, like when it was your birthday, your parents would mail something in, and your name would show up on her birthday chart. You could color a page from a book, and she would post it up. And I loved it.
Did you have Romper Room where you were?
Yes.
It was kind of similar like that, or Bozo. We had Bozo in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Very similar. And my childhood was ruined because when I was a teenager, the lady who played Hatchie Malachi got knocked off in a drug ring.
Oh, Lord.
I was about 17, just about cried, just about lost it, cried my eyes out. Hatchie Malachi, my childhood hero, got locked up for dealing drugs.
I say my worst, and my brother Barry and I talk about all the time. Bozo was a show he ran home and watched during lunch from school, and he used to interview kids and to throw ping pong balls into buckets. And he asked one kid, little Timmy, "So Timmy, how old are you?" And he said, of course, live TV. He said, "Cram it, clown." So that's the best or the worst experience I had with childhood television. But geez, Hatchie
Malachi got knocked off for drugs. Yeah, could not believe it. Couldn't believe it. Yes, and I want to say Paul Rubin borrowed one or two ideas from her. So she had the magic screen. So she had the screen,
right?
She would pull up, and then she would go like this, and then you would watch a video through the screen. I'm pretty sure that was part of Paul Rubin's early.
He was Playhouse.
Yeah, he was Playhouse.
Probably figured she's doing 10 to 15. She's not going to notice.
She's doing a hard time. I got nothing to worry about. Let's just say, my brother Mark and I learned about Sesame Street from the back pages of a Batman comic book. No kidding. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. And one of the guys that worked with Henson, oh geez, I can't remember his name. He left, and he was responsible for one of the live action shows. I'm trying to remember which one it was. If it was I don't know, if it was Great Space Coaster or one of those.
Fraggle Rock? No, that was Henson, I think.
No,
I
that
think
was
that was
Henson.
Henson.
Yeah, that was Henson. It'll, you know what? I'm not sure. It might come to me because I might have a picture of it on one of these slides. Oh, you know what? It's the bottom. No, that's the Great Space Coaster. I don't. It might have been the Great. Yeah. For some reason, that's ringing a bell. I think that. That was the show that he started.
Which one had Gary Gnu? It was Great Space Coaster?
Great Space Coaster. Gary Gnu.
No Gnu.
Gorilla Griddle.
Yeah.
Yes.
News. I remember the Newzoo Review. I used to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like 20. So it's like you never outgrow these things.
Yeah. And Mr. Rogers, I mean, he was from Pittsburgh. So he was western part of my state. Definitely watched a lot of him as a kid. And I tell you what, I gained a ton of respect. I mean, I always thought a lot of him, but when you see the documentary on him that was done, I think, on Netflix, amazing. I mean, what that guy did and the boundaries that he crossed and how he fought for public television, just incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
I think it's on YouTube. His speech when he went to Congress and asked for more money for PBS, and he was done. Like people were crying. Yeah,
it is. How come I'm not seeing posts in live chat? I'm not sure, but I will tell you this, guys. I am broadcasting tonight in Back in the Day and in Let's Talk Jaws Live. Kind of a new thing. So if you're not seeing them one place, you might want to check the other. You might see them there. So what we got? I like eggs for supper also. Egg is one of those foods you could eat. It's like cereal. Anytime. You could eat anytime.
Anytime.
Any different way. I don't know. I crave protein. In fact, you guys ever do the hamburgers that had the egg on top?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, are they good? I love that stuff. And where I'm from, you didn't have Sunnyside eggs or Over Easy eggs. We called them dippy eggs. You ever hear that phrase?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, dippy eggs because you dip your bread in them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you go into a restaurant, probably a Pennsylvania Dutch thing, and that's what you'd order dippy eggs. I say that in central Pennsylvania, and people look at me kind of weird. But yeah, that's okay. Probably not the only thing they look at me weird for. So, what was the show that Morgan Freeman was? Well, we just got done saying that. So,
the Electric Company. He didn't do the voiceover. He was one of the characters. He was Ready Reader. So he'd tell stories. And usually it'd be him and somebody else. He would do a consonant. Someone would do the rest of the word. It'd be like, duh, og, dog. So, yeah. Morgan Freeman, big old afro. Bell bottoms. Bell bottoms.
No.
It's a lot like his character in Street Smart. Just
Yeah. What we got here? I love that Daniel Tiger's a cartoon based off of his puppets. Yeah. What we got here? Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and find. It's not hard to find Electric Company on YouTube. You get on there, you could probably sit and watch the episodes. A lot of that stuff, you can see entire episodes. Yeah. I was doing a little deep dive with some of these shows. I watched a little bit of Great Space Coaster, pulled up the Electric Company and watched a little bit of that. Yeah. All right. So the end. So what killed it off? And I didn't realize, Mike, that the end wasn't officially until 2014. I had no idea.
Wow.
I thought it died off in the 90s some point in time. And I did a little research to try and figure out what exactly happened. And I thought maybe it started because they were realizing that they were basically pumping the kids to, with all these advertisements for everything. And it became a marketing ploy. But what had happened was, according to what I read, was the FCC started to put restrictions on the number of hours that a network could dedicate per week to cartoons. And that's what started to cut down on the restrictions. And so with Saturday being the big volume time, if they would cut out on Saturdays, they could still do it during the week, because like we're talking about, there were some cartoons on in the mornings during the week, um, and then there were always cartoons on usually at the end of the school day,
Yeah.
or just other kid shows. Like I would run home because we would watch Scooby Doo. We would watch reruns of Kale's Navy. I can remember watching reruns of the Three Stooges. So a lot of those shows would be on after school. And so, in order to meet the FCC standards, they started cutting out Saturday cartoons so they could still run them during the week, which I had no idea. Now that was in the, I don't know, mid to late '90s, I believe. Maybe it was early '90s for all I know. And they started replacing it with things like Good Morning America Weekend and more adult-oriented shows like that they knew would draw the people in. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And the other thing I saw was, which is why you see a picture of the Power Rangers, is there was a real paradigm shift back to live action shows similar to the Power Rangers. I guess that was the era when those things started to get big. And so they were getting away from the whole cartoon. I guess it was coming on being a little bit too childish, where perhaps something like that might appeal to a bigger audience. I don't know. Like I said, I was well into my adulthood at that point.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it could just be that as the technology progressed, kids had more options than cartoons.
Yeah, it did. Sesame Street is still on. Sesame Street is still alive and doing really, really well. From
Is
what
it
I
on
understand.
HBO? I think HBO bought it. I think it's on HBO now.
Oh, really?
I believe so. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw that HBO had it.
Yeah, I know that was still thriving all through my son's childhood, and that was in the Elmo era.
All right, on.
And I didn't mind that at all. However, some of the Sesame Street-based character movies are what kind of put me over the edge. When you got little kids, they get something that they really like a lot, and that's all they want to watch. For my son, it was the Elmo and Grouchland movie, which was half a musical, and it was to the point where I wanted to hide that disc.
Yeah.
And what broke him one day was I handed him a copy of the 1967 Batman movie that was to kick off the Batman series over in Europe, and he bought that hook, line, and sinker, and I was happy after that. So we were done with Elmo.
Yeah, Elmo's the Antichrist in my house. So
yes, I was not a fan, not at all. And they're still branching out with newer characters, and they're really trying to get characters to hit certain social issues and certain demographics and things now. I mean, they have like an autistic character, and I think they have a character that has ADHD, and so they're really trying to, make connections with people beyond the usual guys. So pretty interesting. So, After School Special was great. It was. There was a lot of good after school shows. A lot of actors cut their teeth in after school movies.
Yeah.
As well.
I remember one that had, I think, Brad Pitt and Ricky Schroeder. I think they were stepbrothers.
Oh, not familiar with that one. Brad Pitt with Ricky Schroeder. Wow. I don't remember that. I remember Scott Baio was in one or two that were pretty popular. I remember some of those. I think ABC literally had the show called After School Special.
After School Special.
Yeah. I remember watching that quite a bit. That was pretty big. Yeah. And then once I was a teenager, we discovered HBO, so it was all over for everything else. So, yeah.
Rich, did you pick a song to go out on? I did watch the Archies. We should do the Archies. Let's do Sugar Sugar. Because we went to a oldies concert with a bunch of bands, and Ron Dante, who was the lead singer of the Archies per se. He sang that, so I can say now I saw the Archies live.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So supposedly that came back out as a comic book again in the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years.
It's like on TV show now, Riverdale. Very adult though, apparently.
Yes, it's no longer what it used to be in the newspaper or on TV. Yes. Yeah.
They did sing Sugar Sugar, and here it comes.
Yeah. Honey, honey. Yeah.
Alexa, play Sugar Sugar by the Archies.
Here's Sugar.
Hey,
Sugar.
she could figure that one out.
On Amazon Music.
Alexa, volume 4. Yeah. Well, this was fun going down memory lane.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, just trying to come up with something different. I thought we've got to have connections to this stuff, And wait, Riverdale was first the Archies.
No, it wasn't the Archies, but it's based on the characters.
Yeah.
Though apparently in Riverdale, Archie sleeps with Miss Grundy. Though in the comics, Miss Grundy's like 140 years old. So
Cougar. Archie likes the Cougars, huh? Wonder what Jughead's doing in that one. Poor guy, he's probably a local crack dealer at the school or something.
Norville, is that his name? Is it Norville Jones?
Is that what his name was?
I think his name's Norville. I have to look that up now.
Yeah.
No, Forsyth. Forsyth P. Jones. That is Jughead's name.
Couldn't have pulled that one out. There's no way, man. You're way beyond me, Mike. That's why I got Mike Scratch back scrolling across the bottom. You're above my pay grade on that guy. So, man.
Andy Kim, the Korean Neil Diamond. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Buzz. Well, have a great week, everybody. Thank you.
Yes. Awesome show tonight. Mike, had a great time heading back down and revisiting some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys stopping out tonight. Really good time. It was kind of a little bit different direction, but it really panned out well. So we will catch up with you guys next week with hopefully some Jaws fun to talk about.
It'll be fun. Night, Robert. Right. Night, everybody.
Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy it. Let it roll out. Have yourselves a good weekend. Take care. Thanks, Mike and Nate. That was great. Yes, it was. Always fun.
Always fun.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. Enjoy yourself.